Will Kyle Shanahan finally embrace a running back committee down the stretch this season, or will he just run Christian McCaffrey to death? We'll discuss that and more next on the Coaches Meeting. What's up? Welcome to the Coaches Meeting. That's the coach who runs the Coaches Huddle. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. Just hit 10,000 subscribers. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you, bro. And it's so poignant that we celebrate 10K on the Coaches Huddle with the very first show that I did on YouTube, the Coaches Meeting.
That's right.
This is where it's supposed to be right here,
it's
baby.
Poetic.
It's right. Poetic.
Yeah, it starts and ends in the same freaking place. Well, look, if you want to know the latest Niners news, injury report just came out for this weekend. George Kittle's questionable, but he practiced this week. Nick Bosa's questionable, but he practiced this week. Trent Williams is questionable, and he did not practice at all this week. No practice for Trent, not even limited. I saw him in the locker room the last 2 days. He wasn't wearing a boot, but he was definitely hobbling. So I'm not asking you to predict, but if he doesn't play, does that even the playing field here, or is this still a Geno Smith production?
It's still a Geno Smith production. Trent not being in, honestly, I think that would lean into some of the topics that we have coming up in the show, right? If Trent's not there, then you're going to have to put multiple different runners in the backfield, right? And it can't just be Deebo. It's going to have to be Jordan Mason. It's going to have to be Isaac Guerrero. And in my opinion, Jalen Moore is not as good as Trent Williams, so that's not what I'm saying. It's definitely a downgrade, so let's start there. But being able to get the ball out quick, the receivers that we have right now, not necessarily airing the ball out as much as we have been, especially since we've let go of Brandon Ayuk. Ricky Pearsall being an added addition, having Jacob Cowing possibly being added into the mix if we kind of get rid of some guys that really aren't giving us a lot of production on the offense. I think that we should be able to still beat the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, it'll be a loss, definitely. But one thing I have noticed is that the right side of the offensive line is just as balanced as the left side of the offensive line. And it's been happening this season. And one thing that I've noticed is that Kyle has kind of gotten away from running to the right side of the line again. And you noticed it the last game with Christian McCaffrey. You wanted to give him the best runs that he could have. But really, the best style of running that we had was before Christian got back into the lineup. And that's when Kyle was forced to literally utilize all gaps of the field. So for me, maybe that will force Kyle into using more people that we want to see on the field, as in pass catchers, and putting out a better running back committee and actually having a more balanced run attack from right to left. So I see a silver lining to the cloud. That's how
no question. Here are some numbers, though, that may or may not mean anything. Brock Purdy in his career with Trent Williams is 22-6. Without Trent Williams, he's 0-2. Small sample size.
Right.
But you could argue that Trent Williams, as valuable as Christian McCaffrey is, we saw what happened to this offense when he went down. It was like a domino effect. It was huge. You could argue that Trent Williams is even more valuable because the drop-off from Christian to Jordan Mason is not as big as the drop-off from Trent Williams to Jalen Moore, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could argue that. But for me, I just feel like there's a way that the Niners can move on without having Trent there. I mean, really, he's kind of getting warmed up into the best football that we're probably going to see from him this year. And he's coming off of a bye. And I think he maybe needs a little bit more rest. I mean, Trent is getting older. And in my opinion, it's not, I hate to say this, but it's the truth. You know, time moves on. There was a time maybe about a season ago where not having Trent Williams on the field was that was a game stopper. Like, we can't play without Trent. But we're starting to see that Trent Williams is still class personified, but there's ways that we can still get it done. I'm not that concerned if Trent can't go. And to be honest with you, sorry, Grant, but to be honest with you, if he can't go, don't push it. I'd rather have Trent for the duration than, push him for a game and then we lose him for the season.
Smack Jones says 919. Smack Jones 919 says, congrats on 10,000, Coach Grant. You the man. You the GOAT.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So, like, it's one of these situations where you don't practice all week. It's an ankle injury. You could make it worse. If it were week 18 or a divisional playoff game, I'm thinking there'd be a better chance that he would play. But like you said, it's week 11.
Right.
It's the Seahawks. You could get away with not playing him here. And because, again, if you play him, it could get worse. He could miss next week. If you don't play him, maybe he's back next week for Green Bay when you absolutely need him.
Right. And for me, that's the key. You need to be able to actually see the forest through the trees here. Trent Williams is somebody who we actually need for the entire season. There's ways that you can get through this game without completely blowing him out, and completely losing him. For me, I don't know. Foreshadowing, I know it's different players, but we already lost Brandon Ayuk. Let's kind of like pace ourselves. We just got CMC back. So if Trent's saying that he can't go and he can't practice, then we need to sit him down. Or you know what? Maybe this is us kind of like jumping the gun. Maybe they're sitting him down for practice because they want him to be a game time decision. So we really just don't know how severe this is.
Best guess, does he play?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. And I base that on nothing. Okay. One more thing before we get into our regularly scheduled program. I asked Kyle Shanahan a question today. He didn't seem to like it that much. That being said, he doesn't like any of my questions, but this one seemed to really bother him. So I followed up. I really wanted to make sure that I knew whether he liked it. And then by the end, I was like, oh, he doesn't like this question. So I'm thinking, why don't we play it for people, the little exchange? And let's see I'd love to know what you think. Here we go. Hold on. Share. Let's make it full screen. Here we go.
Does Brock Purdy have the license to hand signal route changes to receivers pre-snap? Like if you were to see man coverage with the single high safety, could he like hand signal to a receiver like to change his route to a stutter go or something like that?
When there are those things, we put in the play call. But yeah, we have hand signals for everything.
When you have a cerebral quarterback like Brock who's been in your system for a few years, do you put more and more in his play pre-snap, or do you adjust your philosophy?
Have I ever not answered the questions that are already written that your article's already written on? Am I not giving you the right quotes?
I was wondering, it seems like unique. I mean, he's quite smart and been here for a while. And I was wondering, like, does he earn more freedom or? I don't know.
I don't think you understand. It's not about earning more. We put as much on Brock with double play calls, triple play calls as anyone. But just because you don't see someone do a hand signal or something, that not as many teams do that. They used to do it a long time ago, but that's not really what it's like. But it's just semantics of how you get to it. But there's not many offenses in this league that don't give a quarterback a few options.
What do you think?
Man, when did that happen?
That was about an hour ago. I thought that was a good question. I actually wrote it down. I had examples. I didn't want him to be able to weasel out and act like he didn't understand what I was asking. He understood exactly what I was asking. He didn't like it.
He didn't want to he couldn't let you ask the question.
No. Midway through, he just starts looking at someone like, can you believe this freaking guy? Like, who are you looking at? Look at me.
That just happened?
That was about an hour ago.
Dog, you always got some shit cooked up, dog. That's
he didn't
crazy.
think I was going to say anything on a Friday. I was like, just wait. Just wait
on it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He said teams don't do that anymore.
Stop. Come on, son. Teams don't do that anymore. First of all, for him to say that, this is my first time hearing this. For him to say that, he said that there's an element that stuff is already built in the offense. That wasn't answering the question. That's not what you asked him.
Yeah.
What you said is Brock
had
hand
signals for everything. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, he was like, we already have hand signals in for everything. That's already built into the offense. Number one, that really says is that you're still predetermining what you think you're going to see based on the rules of football. But what happens if you guys see something in the now? Okay, what do you have something in for a personnel change? Do you have something in for an injury? Do you have something in for a route that you want to get back to that you've seen? Like, this is my thing. What part of the offense is it? What part of the offense is incorporated where the game takes autonomy over the game plan, right? Like, hey, We saw this in the first quarter. Bump what the sheet says. We need to go back to this again, and then we need to change it to this.
I got an example. So week 2, they're in Minnesota. You probably remember this. I think it was their last offensive play. It's a screen pass to Deebo on the right that almost gets intercepted by Andrew Van Ginkel. If you go back and watch the film, Ayuk's on the left. He's one-on-one with a safety in the middle of the field. In retrospect, instead of throwing that screen, it would have been nice for Brock to be able to signal something to Ayuk, who's one-on-one, and adjust the route and win. I don't know. Why not? I mean, I grew up watching Peyton Manning do that every week. But again, people don't do that anymore. You know why? Because coaches are too controlling. Get out of the way. Brock Purdy is special. He doesn't need you dictating everything. I'm just editorializing here, but that's the way I feel.
No, I mean, for me, usually, and I got to be honest, man, usually most of like his response to you is literally in the response, right? You know, he gives like gives like microaggressions, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? But for this one, it was kind of like full throttle. Yeah, full throttle. Like, I don't want you to ask me this question. I don't respect you.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what you're talking about. Exactly. Like, I don't like to the point where if their cameras weren't rolling, you wouldn't have been able to get this question out.
No. And to me, that's when you know it's a good question. Because when the coach is like real comfortable and he's like cracking his knuckles, like you missed. But when he starts smiling and looking around and trying to cut you off, like you got it.
Yeah.
That applies to politics and any type of journalism questioning.
But really, you know what this highlights too is the narrative that we all know is coming. And that's when Brock gets paid, it's no longer your team anymore, Kyle. I'm sorry. He makes more money than you. Literally. Like not figuratively, literally. He makes more money than you. It's his team now.
And Brock right now is very much of a sir, yes, sir kind of guy. When he gets paid, I mean, that's not what Steve Young was like, what Peyton Manning was like. You expect a franchise quarterback to throw his weight around.
Yeah, and I think that your question kind of leaned into that of like, all right, so when I guess if we really want to chop it down and take all of the football stuff off of it, your question basically was like, all right, man, when are you going to let him really own the offense? Like honestly,
it's year 3. He's hella smart. Like, what do you want to see?
Yeah, like we're kind of over just watching him. We're kind of just over it watching him run plays. Like, when are we? Because at this stage, I think that the dirty little secret with all quarterbacks in Kyle Shanahan's offense is that we really truly can't judge them because they really don't really have control of the offense, right? And how can you say that what Brock is or what Brock isn't, or what Brock should have thrown or what he shouldn't, what he should have ignored, if either the only time we see Brock doing what he wants to is either when he's saving Kyle's ass, when Kyle should be running the ball and he goes 5 wide, or does something stupid trying to pass the ball on first down when they haven't even flipped the field. That happens every week. And he's either scrambling, and nobody talks about that when basically Brock breaks Kyle's protocol and is like, look, your pass concepts aren't working. I'm hightailing it out of here, right? But when everything seems to be, the blocking is right and the concepts seem to be fitting, then it's like, oh, well, you know, Brock missed that throw. And it's like, well, you know, half the time he's been trying to like keep the game plan alive. Now, all of a sudden, when it's working or when there's a play that needs to be executed, you expect him to be perfect all the time. So I think it was a great question.
It's interesting in Tampa, the red zone issues persisted. The one touchdown they got in the red zone was Brock Purdy holding on to the ball for 8.5 seconds and making a play on his own. Like, Christian McCaffrey comes back. You had a bye week to think of something clever in the red zone, and you had nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to come to a head, Grant. Like, this is a great question for you to get ahead of now, because pretty soon everybody's going to be saying like, hey, so are we going to literally just judge Brock on his best imitation of football through Kyle's scheme? Or are we going to ask Kyle, when are you going to let Brock take over the offense so he can actually play the game of football?
So Kyle didn't like my question. You know who probably did like my question? Brock's agent, Brock's parents.
Yeah, but yes.
Yeah, because they can't say it, but someone needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's enough attacking Kyle. But I want to praise him, man. He's been doing a lot this year to help the offensive line and the run game. What are you seeing on film?
Oh, man. So one thing that I'm seeing is that we're slow. The offensive line is slow, but we're supposed to have a skill set where we're supposed to be fast, and we're not. Some of that is that we're trying to get in shape. Some of it is that we're a little bit older. And a lot of it is that defense understand that we're trying to get to the edge. We're trying to get there. So the aiming point, stretching and crossing face and getting outside, it's harder to do. So one thing that I've seen that Kyle is doing, which is really nice, is that he's picking and hinging it's kind of like some gap scheme principles that he's putting into the offensive line that's really giving them a chance to be physical immediately. It gives them a chance to be productive, and it takes a lot of wear and tear off of their legs. So they're not necessarily running from sideline to sideline. I saw the first couple of plays of it in the first drives of the first half against Tampa. Then they actually went crazy with it, where they were doing full pick and line hinges, and it worked really well. They're gaining confidence because of it. It helps players like Jake Brindle, where he has a hard time kind of getting out in space and being physical with faster linebackers. Dominic Pooney and Colton McKivitz love it because leverage wise, they're always blocking the backside. So a pick and hinge is always good for them, blocking defenders that are all in the backside of their face. It helps Aaron Banks and Trent Williams in tandem because they don't have to worry about getting to the edge. They can worry about crack toss. Not crack toss, but crack with Juwan Jennings and possibly Kyle Juszczyk coming on the outside. So I like it. And they've been doing a really good job with it thus far. For me, I watched the last couple of games in the offensive line, and some of it was tough sledding, but moving forward game by game by game, they progressed every game. Our offensive line quietly is our strongest unit on the football team, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this about the offensive line, because you watch it much closer than I do. You have much more of an understanding than I do as a former player and coach of the offensive line in particular. We all know Dominic Pooney's having a great year. Borderline, maybe an all-pro. I mean, he's one of the best guards in the league. It seems to me that quietly, Aaron Banks is having a good year too. I mean, he's not as good as Pooney, but what do you see? Maybe I'm wrong. What are you seeing from Banks?
I don't think Aaron Banks is having that good of a year. Okay. For me, I think that Aaron Banks is just having issues with his body. I don't know if he's necessarily playing healthy. I don't think that he's 100% healthy.
Well, he's on the injury report right now with the quad.
Okay, and that makes sense. I feel bad now because I was definitely going after his legs and his feet in his pick and hinge and some of the things that he was doing to kind of, kind of cut corners, if you will. One thing that I see about him is that if he is playing with a lot of injuries, then he's doing an amazing job playing with the weapons that he does have. He's not doing a good job using his hands, especially his play side hand, particularly his left hand. Is not as strong. Pad level seems to be a problem with him going to the
from the coach level. Right there. Where are you going to get that from anyone else? His left hand isn't as strong. I love that.
So we're just watching film.
Yeah.
Him getting.
But I mean, like anyone can watch film. Not everyone knows what to look for. That was dope. Anyway.
Thank you.
That's why you're at 10K, for being frank.
Yeah. Nah, man. It's interesting to me. What I will say is that he is a big body. He moves well, but his pad level is just something that, leaves much to be desired. If he gets a linebacker who's willing to fight at the second level, there's really not a lot that Aaron Banks brings to the party. He's a lunger, a little bit of a waist bender, but I want to give him some credit now and shoot him some bail because I didn't know that he had a quad injury. So when you got a quad injury, you're not going to necessarily be that apt to bend. But that's one thing that I will see, that I do see a lot from him in a lot of film right now. Pass protection wise, though, he's good. He's a better pass protection, better in pass pro than he is in run protection, in my opinion. He's strong. He will get in front of a body, but it's just he just doesn't bring his feet sometimes, and he sacrifices technique with keeping his hands too high. He's not a good relocator. When he gets beat to the punch, when his man gets a long arm or it gets on the inside of him. But one thing I will say is that he's a wide body. He is smart. I don't see him make a lot of stupid plays where he just doesn't understand what's going on. But he is a plus athlete. Somebody will take him as a starter, but we can do better. We can get a young guy in there.
Yeah, they're not re-signing him. He's going to be somewhat expensive. And as you said, you just destroyed him, which is fine. But the reason I like him is because he's from the Bay. It's the only reason.
Mm-hmm.
That goes a long way for me.
Yeah.
Hold on, it's sleeper pick time. Here we go. Let's see what we got for the sleeper picks. Wait a second. Boom. Yes. The production value in this show is always top notch. Okay. How about the Paul Tyson fight?
Oh, dog. It's so wild to me, bro. Okay. So I'm wild because I tried to like high hand this whole event. I'm like, I don't care about this. This isn't real boxing. I'm not watching this. And I got pulled in. And I don't know. Okay, so here, you want my like quick analysis of what I think?
Yes,
Here
I
we
do.
go.
Absolutely, yes.
If Jake tries to go toe to toe with Mike within the first 3 rounds, it could be lights out. I think that's Mike's biggest opportunity to win this fight. All of his power, all of his boxing skill. If anything happens within the first 3 rounds, I think that Mike can win the fight. But if it goes past 3 rounds and they're only 2-minute rounds, I think it starts leaning in Jake's favor. He's 25 years old. Mike is 58. He's about to be 60, bro. And in my opinion, if it goes past 3, it's just Jake tiring Mike out, and he may clip Mike, and old age may take over. His legs won't be there, and he may get the win. That's how I see it. If it goes past 3, Jake.
The way I look at this is it's kind of a farce. It's not a real fight.
It's not.
Jake Paul's an influencer, and he's bringing attention to his own brand. And I don't think he would take a fight where he actually thought there was any chance that he could get knocked out. He lost one fight. It was a split decision. He's not getting knocked out. That's the way I look at it. 58-year-old Mike Tyson, he might last. He might win, but he probably won't. If he won, it would have to be a split decision. He's not going to make it that long. So the question is, like, is he going to get hurt? Is he going to retire? There's no freaking way. I'm sorry. I mean, I
know.
No KO for Tyson. I don't think if he knocks out Jake Paul, like his whole operation is over. His career is over. He's a joke. I mean, I have to say, if he loses to Mike Tyson, 58.
Dude, you know what's wild is that the world isn't even, it's not about validity anymore. It's about content. They don't care.
No.
So even if Mike knocked him out, dog, I could see Jake asking for a 2, like a sequel.
Dude, if Jake's like ultimate rival is old ass Mike Tyson, like God.
And nobody would care.
Is he ever going to like turn pro and actually like try to like climb up the ranks, or is this just all silly?
It's all about money. He doesn't want to turn pro. He wants to make money.
Right. And if he turns pro, he'll lose and he won't make money.
He's not making that money. Yeah. He doesn't want to turn pro. There's no money in McCaffrey. Legit.
Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown, will he score 1?
Yeah.
I agree. Geno Smith, will he throw a pick?
Yes.
Brock Purdy, will he run for more than 19.5 yards?
Yes.
Metcalf, 58.5 or a touchdown.
He's so useless to me. Just big for nothing.
He's always good for one fight too.
That's what I'm saying. Always playing to the stereotypes.
He just seems angry.
Right, ABM. That's what I'm saying.
It's like he's angry because he's on the Seahawks. That's why he's mad.
That's why nobody like you, man. You always be tripping. God. We go to the party. Is DK coming? Yeah, DK coming. I ain't going, bro.
Oh, man, he always mad.
We ain't going, bro. We ain't going, man. DK, yo, as soon as some females show up, DK start tripping when the females come, dog. Nah, we ain't going. I would say give him 58 yards. He's good for like
48 against the Niners last time.
Yeah, give him 58 yards.
All right. How about Deebo? He just shoot out the long snapper. He's locked in.
Deebo's locked in.
59.5. No Ayuk.
Yeah. I mean, his numbers have been, Deebo's numbers have been pedestrian, Brody.
They have. He's like one good play a game.
Yeah. And that kind of like saves his day. But outside of that, it's just nothing. Diet calories. Like, it's pretty bad.
Okay, we'll go less on Deebo just because I think the fight that he had with Tabor Pepper's weighing on his mind, then he's going to be distracted.
He's going to be
Jackson Smith and Jigba. Dude is balling. 52.5. I feel like that's an opportunity.
He went off against us. I would say, yeah.
Yes. Okay. That might be enough. 7 picks. All correct. Gonna flex it. Select promo to use. What? Oh my God. I got a promo. I'm using it. That's how generous Sleeper is. Submitting the entry. Boom. Download the app. Use promo code Cohn. Get entered to win a signed Ricky Pearsall jersey. He's pretty big on the streets right now. Okay.
Hey, man, everybody likes Ricky, man. He's actually playing well, too. I'm glad we're getting a chance to see him play. You know what I mean? Not just like these spurts.
And it's like he still hasn't really developed much chemistry with Brock. Like, he can get a whole lot better. He missed all of training camp. He's been playing for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. He seems to get better every game.
Yeah, he's gaining a lot of confidence, and he blocks, bro. He can block.
All right. It's been about a week since we've talked about Kyle Juszczyk, and I just won't let this go. I won't give it up. I'm going to talk about him the rest of my life. He's still on the team. Could be his last season. They're playing him a lot. And I still don't really know why he doesn't get the ball, but he's supposed to be like a blocking extraordinaire. Does the tape corroborate that?
Yes. In the inverse. I mean, look, bro, this is the deal. Kyle Juszczyk is like in his early 30s. And I think that, he's kind of like Tom Cruise. Like, we just don't realize how old he is. He just looks the same every year, but he's old. He's
almost 34.
He's 33 years
he's
old.
approaching his mid-30s, which are way different.
Yeah. And he plays a position where, dare I say, you're supposed to kind of be like the guidon to the platoon. You're supposed to like be the exclamation point to the sentence, especially when you're at the point of attack as the fullback. And if you just want to share the screen, man, like the film does not lie. It is just pretty bad, bro. So let's just go ahead and just watch the tape, bro, and look at your boy, bro. We're just going to go ahead and just take a look, mosey on over. And, usually we go with narrative, right? But this is beautiful, Grant, because we get to actually go with a little bit of tape, right? So look, just check your boy out. We got to run with Deebo Samuel. And that ain't it. That ain't it, man.
So again,
it's what we're going to do is we're going to show it from the tight.
Okay.
Showing it from the tight. And basically what you get from Kyle Juszczyk is just Levante David is just showing him off, right? Shoving him off.
Anytime a guy ends up on his tush like that at the end of the play, it's a bad look. Turn backwards.
Well, what it's showing is that let's get technical for a minute. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
What we got right here is lazy hands, man. All right, you got to shoot your hands on the inside and stop catching the defender. Another thing is that if you're going to go down, and I see you throttling down because he's trying to make sure that he protects his inside, you got to be able to run your feet on contact. Shuffling down the sideline is just something that we can't have. Another thing about that is that Kyle Juszczyk, for lack of a better term, man, you just got to give me some more fight. Right there, literally sitting on the ground, that just ain't it. We could watch it from the backside view, and then we could really get a chance to see it. And for context,
I love the backside view.
No freaky. So look, you see this right here. We're looking at it. You get punched in the head. You're sitting on the ground, feeling sorry for yourself. Juwan's not going to help you up. Now, look, for context, some people might say, Coach and Grant, oh, they found one play. Well, here goes the very next play. All right. We got to run Christian McCaffrey. Okay. We're going to turn around, go with Christian. And here goes Kyle Juszczyk. That ain't it. That ain't it, Tang.
That's some Tang blocking right there.
And these are the things that you need to understand right now is that your press conference can't be the only thing that's on point. You got to be able to actually play, Kyle. So we look at this and we understand that there's no movement. I understand that you're sacrificing your body, but you're a fullback, not the Secret Service. So let's keep moving. We see the tight view from this side, and Kyle Juszczyk seems to be very interested right now, but he's not. So Levante David shoves him off. We could keep going, though. So you may say, all right, Coach, here goes Grant and Coach kicking up a dust all over again, right? But then we can just go to the next play.
My God.
This is 3 plays in a row, dude. All right. So let's just pause right here. For those of you wondering, there goes our guy. Okay. Just go ahead and take a look. All right. Let's just run it. As we're moving. Come on, Kyle. Kyle. Come on, man.
That's a bad look.
I thought Mexican Appreciation Day was in October. Stop olaying. my man. You got to calm down. What is this nonsense?
He's trying to cut him, I guess, but that's terrible.
Juszczyk, man. The effort, non-existent. Come on, bro. And this is the guy that says he doesn't understand why he got a pay cut. This is the most expensive fullback in the NFL right here. And this is the guy where as we start talking about other people that need to be on the field, man, that's when we start talking about finding out if Jacob Cowan can be on the field, right? Finding out if we can find some other situations right here. Because this right here, this has nothing to do with the offensive line.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with the offensive line.
Yeah.
All right. These other plays that we're looking at, that we're going back, okay? And we're looking at Kyle Juszczyk right here trying to be the lead, right? He's trying to be at the point of attack.
This is another one?
Plays? No, this is us going back.
Okay.
You look at the offensive line, we're doing our job up front. Yeah. Okay. But the thing about it is that it's not sexy to look at fullbacks. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely not.
So a lot of times we don't actually get to see, the biggest camera time that Kyle Juszczyk gets is the pre-motion snap, right? Yeah. But right here, everybody's blocking. That's Kyle Juszczyk right there, and a little bit of Colt McKivitz, but it's cool. But
and the thing is, on a run, he takes you to the ball.
Yeah, he's right there. Yeah. So I mean, just a little bit of film with the narrative, that was right? Rough. Yeah. So we just, but they can't say that we're just talking out of our ass. Like, you can just clearly look at the tape, and it's right there.
So I have some suggestions for Kyle. I suggested more 11 personnel. He doesn't want to do that, although it's a good way to get your best players on the field. But there's also 21 personnel with 2 tailbacks. We saw the Commanders do it a lot just Thursday night. Now, they didn't score that many points. It seemed like their quarterback wasn't really able to get the ball down the field in that game. But when it came to, I like that. I mean, it seems like if you could put Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason in the backfield together, there's a lot you could do that the Niners haven't even tried to do.
Yeah, but I think that would challenge Kyle to kind of do something in the now, right?
Right.
Kyle doesn't know that he can't use Kyle Juszczyk when he's pre-gaming before the season, or when he's trying to get his skills, when he's trying to get his play calling together. Like, this is stuff that you need to start building, like, literally through the weeks of the season. So, yeah, it could happen. But if we're being honest, it comes from somewhere. And that just means more effort. It means that Kyle's going to have to actually build something. Now, if we're being fair, we are seeing it. Like, that pick and hinge, that gap scheme technique and stuff, I haven't seen us do that before in a while, right? So he is adding elements in, but, in my opinion, you can't do anything with that, with Kyle Juszczyk playing like that. There's nothing you can do with that.
I understand he wants to go against base defenses for a lot of reasons, but Juszczyk isn't a good ball carrier, isn't an impactful receiver, and he doesn't seem to be a good blocker anymore. So there are other ways to get to. You could put Sobert in there and go 2 tight ends. You could put Mason in there and go 2 tailbacks. There's so many other things you could do, and that gets your best players on the field. Maybe not Sobert, but right now it doesn't seem like Juszczyk is one of the 5 best skill position players on the team, because, again, like, what does he do well right now? Hard to say.
I don't know. And he's taking up and right now he's a spot on the field that we really don't need if he's not going to be able to handle his business. Like, we need somebody that's actually going to be like, if you're not getting the ball, you need to be like doing your job.
Yep.
So.
And again, like, we've been talking about Ben Johnson as a potential replacement for Kyle Shanahan if the Niners ever move on. Like, Ben Johnson has 2 great tailbacks. He finds ways to get them both on the field sometimes. It's not it's not that unusual. Speaking of running backs, is it possible that we're actually going to see a rotation to keep Christian McCaffrey fresh, not just for this year, but next year? Or are they just going to run him into the ground? What do you think?
I mean, I would hope so. We all see it. But, I don't know. Like, I don't know why they do the things they do, Grant. We were talking about Jordan Mason a season ago, 2 seasons ago. And now he still leads the league in yards per carry, and he only had 1 carry last week. So I don't know. For me, one thing I will say is that Christian isn't 100%. You can see it the way he's playing. A lot of what you saw from Christian from down to down was more effort than it was just him being reactionary. And good on him. He wants to come back. He wants to play his hardest. And then there is an element to his game where he is not back as far as just back to football. I believe in one of his press conferences, he said this was maybe like the third or fourth time that he had put pads on in 8 weeks. So that definitely means that he needs actually some real carries in the NFL. One could say that that's what Kyle was doing for him against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, this was a defense that isn't necessarily so good against the run, and they were already tender. No pause, because they had gotten ran against for over 30 attempts for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you could see it's maybe a little bit of thought process with Kyle saying, if there was ever a time for us to really get his legs under him, let's put him up against a defense that's a little bit battered and bruised and get his legs out there. Hopefully that's what we're seeing. Hopefully by this week coming up, we start to see more of Jordan Mason. I mean, that toothpaste is out the tube, right? Like you can't. We already know what Jordan Mason can do. We already had the Isaac Guerrero game against the Seahawks, so we know what they can do. At this stage of the game, I don't think that the fans are going to be able to stand for like a hobbled. Okay, remember when Dre Greenlaw was playing hurt and we all knew he was playing hurt? Like it was literally after every collision, he was having to get picked up off the ground. And we were like, dude, Dre's got to figure out a way how to protect himself or something, but he's hurt. And we all know he's hurt. Nobody has the stomach for that with Christian McCaffrey. It's just different.
No. And I asked Chris Forster yesterday, like, what do you see from McCaffrey? Is he all the way back? And he said, he looks like himself to him. The one thing you're concerned about with a player like him who's been out for so long and hasn't had any contact is fumbling. Like, is he going to get hit for the first time and forget what it takes to hold on to the ball and fumble? And to me, it seemed like McCaffrey was cognizant of that and making sure he didn't fumble, because like when you run like Jordan Mason, you just might fumble because you're refusing to go down. You're trying to fight for every extra yard.
Something's
And
gonna give.
he had 4 yards after contact, which again, first game back, completely understand it. But yeah, I feel like maybe once he gets a little bit more confident, once he's gotten hit a little bit more, he won't be thinking as much about not fumbling. I also feel like that was an issue for him in the Super Bowl. He was great all year. He fumbles on the first drive, and then I thought he was not himself the rest of that game.
I think Kyle gave up on him too. And it took a while for him to kind of psychologically get over that when Kyle had to go back to him, right? Remember, that third quarter was horrible, man. They didn't do anything on the ground. Kyle completely abandoned him, and then Kyle went back to him in the fourth, and then he had to kind of force himself to get back into the game. It's a human element game, man. Like, guys are not going to say anything, but they feel it when you walk away from them through the play sheet. They know that you shifted, right? And it takes some time for you to kind of like block for 30 minutes, go through a halftime, come through, have a horrible third. And then it's like, all right, dude, like I got you to the dance. Are you going to give me the rock now? Like, what are we doing? So,
what's crazy is he was asked, Kyle, like, how come you didn't use Jordan Mason more in this game? Like, how come you rode McCaffrey so hard? He's like, I didn't realize I did, but when he wasn't on the field, it felt like he was off the field for 100 plays. He says, I think it's almost a direct quote. He was off the field for 6 plays. Felt like 100 to Kyle. So I think we know what's going to happen.
Pathetic.
They made him the highest paid running back in the league. They're not going to turn around and be like, oh, actually he needs a compliment. No, he's the bell cow. And if he goes down, that's on Kyle. So, I mean, if he goes down and he's being used judiciously along with Jordan Mason, that's just life. But if it's 20-something carries a game, that's on Kyle.
Yeah, but don't you kind of feel like everybody is like that on this team? Maybe except like, I don't know, Fred, maybe. Everybody needs a compliment. It's like, Deebo Samuel gets paid, but we got to get an X. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like Christian McCaffrey gets paid, but, there has to be somebody else.
Bosa gets paid, but who's the bookend?
Who's the bookend? Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of feel like everybody gets paid, but for some reason, nobody actually gets tasked with, hey, just do it. You get the money, make it happen. Christian's making that type of money, but if you're being pragmatic about it, he needs help. He does. Or you're going to lose him for the season if you don't.
And decisions that Kyle Shanahan's going to be held accountable for this year, Christian McCaffrey usage overall, his red zone, that's not a decision. That's just his creativity. And then just special teams in general. It's been an issue. You haven't made any changes to it. It's the same returner. If you can't fix that one and it costs the Niners a playoff berth, again, that's on him. You can't just chalk it up to bad luck.
Yeah, 100%.
And what sucks about the special teams too, it's not like the Niners didn't invest. high investments on that side of the ball.
I mean, we thought that Isaac Garindo was specifically drafted to be a special teams guy.
Might have been.
That's what I
Cowling
thought.
seemed like he was.
Yeah.
These are fourth round picks.
I mean, you drafted Jake Moody. Jake Moody was a high draft pick. I don't know.
4.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, Wisnowski's going on IR.
Is Brian Schneider who does Brian Schneider know to still have his job, bro? Like, he gets the most loyalty of all. Like, I don't get it. The special teams has been like ridiculously bad all season.
Do you know Brian Schneider's story?
Tell me about the Schneider story.
Let me tell you about the Schneider story. So Schneider was Pete Carroll's special teams coordinator for a long time in Seattle, 11 years. On September 11th, 2020, I'm reading Wikipedia, for personal reasons, he stepped away from the team.
Okay.
He just walked away from the team like right before the season started. And he goes to Jacksonville, gets hired there the next year on January 22nd. On May 22nd, 5 months later, he stepped away from the team indefinitely for personal reasons. So he's walked away from 2 teams twice for personal reasons. Look, hey, man, I'm not judging. I don't know what the reasons are.
We don't know.
Like, that's a pattern, and it doesn't give a when his unit is the worst in the league, not just special teams, but of all the units, makes you wonder, like, what's going on.
Well, if Brian Schneider flies the coop this time, we can't. You heard it here first. We saw it. I just don't
think you can fly the coop 3 times and continue to work in the NFL. The fact that he's still in the NFL is Kyle Shanahan being charitable.
Dude, I don't know, man. I don't understand how this guy is not being. Remember Hightower? I'd kill for Hightower problems. Like,
where is he?
I don't know. Where is Hightower now? He's not in Miami anymore, is he?
Richard Hightower.
I think he's with New Orleans.
He's back in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Back in Chicago. Helping that team lose a lot. Not his fault, though. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. The special teams is the least of their problems.
Jimmy Kwan says Niners should have ran Mostert instead of Coleman. They win the Super Bowl. Niners run the ball in the 3rd. They win the Super Bowl. SF needs to run by committee this year. It's true.
They do need to run by committee. We all see it. They need to run by committee. That's going to be the offensive line right now, in my opinion, is the best cohesive unit on the team outside of the secondary. They need to run the ball, and they can do it by committee. They can help out the offensive line by playing different styles of runners, using Jordan Mason on the inside, getting guys like Garindo to run the stretch stuff, and then keeping Christian McCaffrey on the field. Put Christian McCaffrey in the slot. Another thing that I feel like nobody is talking about that I want to bring up is Juwan Jennings is taking Brandon Ayuk's position for the rest of the year by Kyle Shanahan. You know what I'm about to bring up.
Do it.
In the world is Juwan Jennings taking over the X, and Deebo Samuel is not anywhere near that position, bro. Yep. Like, Ricky Pearsall is not the Z. I mean, Ricky Pearsall is not the slot, bro. He's playing number 2 position. So what is Deebo Samuel doing, bro?
To me, Juwan is the X, Pearsall's the Z, and Deebo is redundant.
The H? Like, what is he doing? He's not the Y. George is the Y.
I wouldn't put him at X because all you got to do is press him, and he's out of the play.
He's done.
Done.
Like, I'm telling you, bro, like, I saw that. I saw Kyle say that. And, you know, for full stop, it makes sense because Deebo can't run the full route tree. So you got to put Juwan there. But
and he's big enough and strong enough to beat the press.
To actually get open
he runs
get himself open.
It's nice to have an X who can stretch the field, and Juwan can't do that. Although he's averaging 15 yards a catch, which is commendable.
That boy making $27 million a year, Grant. He is stealing money.
Who, Deebo?
Yes.
Yeah, not Juwan.
Yeah. Oh, my God. They're getting the deal of all time.
He got extended, and he's still underpaid.
Dude, they got Colton McKivitz at receiver, basically. They got Colton McKivitz money at receiver at their X. And they got Deebo. He's like the world's most expensive fork. Like, just nothing. You know what I'm saying?
No, he's the world's most expensive spork.
Spork, yeah. Like, what do you do?
Oh, he can do a little bit of everything. Yeah, but I can't actually eat soup with this because it's not a real spoon, and no one wants to eat meat with a spork, so he's a spork.
Come on, man. Like, I'm looking at his zone versus man efficiency. 69th in the league win rate versus man, 28.6% win rate versus man. He's running
That's not
66
good.
routes. Dude, he's ran 66 routes versus man in the league. That ranks 30th in the league. He doesn't even run them versus man. His route win rate is 48.6%. That's 25th in the league. And his total route wins is 84 with the 48th percent in the league. He's ranked 48th in the league. Like, dude, he's only got 2 games over 100 yards receiving. Like, I'm just over the Deebo facade, dude.
He's also
I'm
averaging
over it.
3.1 yards per carry. And you know what annoyed me? We spent all this time talking about running back by committee and Jordan Mason getting carries. Jordan Mason, 1 carry. Garendo, 1 carry. Deebo against the Bucks, 3 carries.
3
Get out
carries.
of here. Get out of
Get
here.
out of here.
Be serious.
You know what? Thank you. Like, you know what? You said it. That's one of the biggest issues of this team. It's not for nothing. It's not the fact that the guys are getting older. We're having a problem with even using the right guys, bro.
Yep.
Like, I don't even understand why he's taking like Kyle Juszczyk and Deebo Samuel. What do they do? What do they do?
What they do is they develop a terrific, lasting relationship with the head coach. Those might be Kyle's 2 best friends on the team.
Yeah, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Right. And they put out like the least effort. Like, if you think about it, Kyle and Deebo are like exactly the same guys who have an exceptional like skill set to what they do, that they can use it on command. So because they can use it, they don't prepare. They don't necessarily do the little things right because they're always relying on that special thing that they have. That's Deebo's physicality and Kyle's play calling. But they're not realizing that that is waning. And all of the other little stuff that you don't do is what supports what you do well. And you're starting to see it in both of them. Kyle's plays are getting stale, and the rest of the league is caught up with him. And he can't just press the easy button with a guy like Deebo that gives you ridiculous physicality at the snap of a button. And Deebo's body has failed him. He hasn't aged well. He's getting injuries, and he's out of shape. And you can see it in the way that he plays. I see like a duality in both of them, in my opinion.
Noah Wood says Deebo is the sharpest butter knife. Trade him.
Yeah, right. That's what I feel. Like, there's no teeth anymore with Deebo. I don't get it. I don't see him on the field and I'm like, now wait until Deebo gets the ball. There's not like a threat on the field anymore.
This year, yards after contact, 240 as a receiver, 80 as a rusher. He has 2 broken tackles as a receiver, 1 broken tackle as a rusher. He's 20, he'll be 29 on January 15th. This should be the last year of him on the team.
I think so, bro. And it's, hey, listen, it ain't personal. It's business.
It's business.
It's business. You know, but I don't see it anymore.
No. Jay McCallan says, is Juice going to be the holder with Mitch out? No, it's going to be Pat O'Donnell.
That's another job.
Sat next to him. I sat next to him on the plane on the way back from Fort Lauderdale, and I didn't know who he was. But I met him there in the locker room. He was like, man, I was sitting next to you. I was wondering, man, I was like, there's a lot of Niners reporters. I was like, yeah, man, I was sitting there writing articles about how the Niners need to find a punter. Little did I know. And the cool thing about Pat O'Donnell when he was flying out, he was not flying out to get the job. He was flying out for a tryout, which he won. So shout out to Pat. And I think it was probably how conscientious I was sitting next to him. Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? You know how Deebo Samuel is the reason that Jake Moody made that last kick? I'm the reason that Pat O'Donnell's on the Niners right now. So you're welcome.
There's so many things that you do. You're a sleuth.
Yeah, it's so humbling. Xavier says the Mason narrative that he's even a slight downgrade from CMC doesn't make sense. Dude's at a franchise record in yards and hasn't dropped a pass. I'm saying, man, he's a free agent. He's a restricted free agent. Some team is going to give him an offer. He's 25 years old with like 250 career carries.
Somebody's going to come after Jordan Mason. He's a starting running back in the NFL. He's not a backup.
And he's got fresh legs. Christian McCaffrey does not. He's got a lot of tread on his tires. Jay Figs Ramon says Deebo Cabo Samuel. Twice he said it. That's how much he meant it.
He understands.
He understands. No, he's a spork. I love that. I think that's the most apt description of the gadget. Like, what kind of a gadget is he? Oh, he's a half spoon, half fork. Oh,
he's a sport.
That's a game changer. Sport
key.
Okay. I'm gonna end this pretty soon. I want to tell people about my travel schedule because I'm proud of myself. So I'm going to Green Bay.
Mhm.
And if you want to fly into Green Bay, it's like $1,000. So I didn't do that. I booked a flight through Chicago. And I'll be driving up from Chicago. So I think that's pretty smart. And then the next week to go into Buffalo, that's the day after Thanksgiving. So that's $1,300 for a flight round trip. And I'm not doing that for Buffalo. No offense to the great people of Western New York. I'm flying to Toronto. It's $500. It's like $800 cheaper. You know why? Because they don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada. They don't celebrate that over there. They don't. So I'm getting tricky over here. Don't anyone steal my idea about going to Toronto. I haven't booked the flight yet. So those are for me.
Before you go, do you think we should just let them know of like the new change in the show?
Oh, I think that would be the thing to do. Go ahead.
Okay. So next week, right now we're dual streaming. So if you're at the Coaches Huddle right now, I got my folks over there watching. So you guys can always watch from our channel, Grant's channel, and my channel at the same time. But me and Grant are switching hosts of the show. So next week on Thursday, I will be hosting the coaches meeting, and it'll just be on your regular links. But just so you guys know that me and Grant will be switching hosting, and we'll be dual streaming the coaches meeting back like the old days, baby. Back to the old days.
And if you haven't seen Coach host a show, he's a really good coach. He might even be a better, he's a really good host. He might even be a better host than a guest. And he's an A+ guest. Coach, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
And again, congratulations on 10K. If you don't know, Coaches Huddle, 10K subscribers on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, do that right now. Not hard to find.
From the root to the fruit. We came from under the Cohn tree. Hey, dog. We started way back. Coaches Huddle, first episode. I was on you, son. I was on you first episode. What? Yo, how intense was the first episode? We got to find that.
It was extremely intense. I felt like I was lined up on the line of scrimmage at X, and I just got obliterated.
Dog, I got to find
was like, hold on. Let me use some hands.
Yo, the chat, I remember the first show, the chat was like, who the hell is this guy? Who, like, what? He's on somebody else's platform talking to them like this? You better, who is this guy, Grant? They still talk like that, though.
How many people remember that episode? That shit was classic. Anyway, time for me to drive home. Thanks for watching, everybody. Coach, same time, not same time. Thursday next week here.
Thursday next week here.
See you
Talk
guys.
to you.